Hey everybody, this is Dorek here, and I just want to make a quick video here talking about why your roster might suck in Global Lost Ark and how you can improve it and maybe get around some of this gatekeeping that's been a huge topic in Lost Ark. Gatekeeping is obviously a huge topic in Lost Ark right now, but why does it exist? Why does gatekeeping exist? Obviously, it's because people aren't always happy to get into a raid and they wipe a whole bunch of times because someone's still trying to learn the fight. And especially when, you run the raid 6+ times a week, so you probably don't want to probably don't want to spend 4 hours on a single raid that's the blunt of it, right? Like, does the game promote the gatekeeping? I'm gonna leave that for a totally different discussion. For the most part, I just want to focus on like helping people get into, actually into the raids and able to enjoy the game while it still exists. Like it's no doubt that there is gatekeeping in the game. There's no doubt that if you are feeling like you're required to run a certain amount of characters raids per week and you need to get it done every single day, then uh there's going to be that relationship. But I will say that there is like an opposite end of a spectrum, right? There are other people that are probably trying to learn the raid. There's other people that are trying to help other people out and get the raids done too, that are more patient. It's just finding those groups and getting around them is sometimes going to be challenging, but you can improve on your characters and on your roster specifically, to help get around this and kind of make yourself a little bit more appealing to a more variety of groups so that it's easier for you to get your raids done as well. So there's different levels of gatekeeping at the different raids, and obviously progress with the in-game item level requirement that go with each one. But the in-game item level requirement, it's it just lets you go into the raid. It's not like you don't get guaranteed a spot into a group for the raid by having the item level. The reality is that all of the raids in Global Lost Ark or in Lost Ark period have been out for quite a while, and you're gonna have a very large spectrum of people with various experience levels. The a problem is that if you're newer or you don't have as much experience with, you know, with that spectrum and knowing all of the different types of group that you might join, then you might get more frustrated when people don't accept you into a group, thinking that you are qualified or more than qualified enough to join the group when they're seeing things from a little bit more of an in-depth perspective. Um, what I mean by this, you're gonna get denied over maybe missing relic pieces, or you don't have full level 2 relic set, or your gems aren't like full legendary gem. Maybe you're yeah, maybe you have a stat wrong or something. You're using an off stat piece or something of that nature. Things that you might not look as much of a problem, and thinking that you're totally fine. You've cleared this raid before, but from the other person's perspective, they don't see that. They don't know that you're a god tier gamer that knows every single mechanic and has everything memorized. They can only go off of like their checklist that they know as in depth as they know, uh, when they're trying to make a group of quality players for their raid and not ensure that everyone's wasting their time there. So that's why the level of gatekeeping goes up with each raid, right? The thing about this is that for a new player, a returning player, anyone in general, it's just easier to hone a character than it is to save gold and make them stronger through other meaningful ways. Um, what do I mean, like other meaningful ways? I mean, like having higher level damage gems, level 5 tripods, full relic sets, like full level 2 relic set even, depending on the raid that you're doing, you know, these are things, you know, higher stats, higher qualities on your accessories, right? You know, high weapon quality, what's your weapon hone at? Things like that actually make quite a big difference when you're looking at thousands of attack power difference in, you know, something that's not just related to honing. Just because you have an item level doesn't mean that you're going to be doing more damage. The reality is that if you're just getting to a really high item level because you're honing armor pieces, like honing, you know, my chest and my pants and my helmets, because my weapon and gloves and shoulders are done, you know, it gets me a higher item level, but that doesn't really make me all that much stronger, or it wouldn't make me nearly as strong as, say, getting level 10 damage gems, or you know, adding another engraving on or something like that, right? And obviously it changes at the different raid levels. So it's like, what's reasonable? What's reasonable for your characters? That's what I really wanted to go into, because what a lot of people think is reasonable for a lot of the raids is on a very low end of the spectrum, in my opinion. And that's why there's a lot of frustration when it comes to gatekeeping. I think that 1460 is the item level requirement for hard mode Viking. But this is a very bad spot to leave your alts, because it's not that hard mode Vicus is hard on item level. Like, there's not a huge DPS check that comes in with hard mode Vicus. A little bit if like everyone is kind of on the low end in gate 2, but for the most part, it's not really so much of a DPS thing and why you would ever wipe on hard mode Vicus. One of the real problems with hard mode Vicus is that there's mechanics that involve everyone being alive for, and it's a lot easier to trust that someone who has a higher item level is going to live long enough to be able to do those mechanics. So if you have a whole group of on item level 1460s, it's kind of hard to fully expect the first gate boss to die fast enough and without anyone dying than it is to just bring in higher item level people. So where do you put your characters at, right? That's the question. How do you make your characters appealing, and what are the different levels that you should be looking? Um, we'll start with Bolton. We're gonna kind of skip over the normal mode requirements, because the difference between 1415 and 1430 and 1445 is going to be very small. We're going to start at 1445. This is going to be your best place to get a character to if you are like relatively new, or you have like you're returning, you have someone that you're trying to add into your top 6 as like a new main character. Without a lot of frustration, getting them to 1445 as quickly as you can is a good spot. Starting at 1415 though, is when you can unlock the ability to use relic accessory pieces. These relic accessory pieces can go +5 on a particular engraving, and then they'll have +3 on the other one. You can get them, you know, pretty cheaply in a lot of cases if you're not looking for something absolutely this, which you shouldn't really be, because if you're 1445, the good enough engraving requirement is going to be 4x3. Get your character 4x3. It should be pretty cheap to do, pretty easy to do, and you know, it gives you a good power gain. Not to mention 4x3 is going to last you a while, at least until you start going into Clown later, which we'll go into. Once you have 4x3 gems are a big thing. If you're 1445, you you should try to have level 5 gems. Level 5 damage gems, level 5 cooldown gems. Just try and have at least a full set of level 5 gems. At this point though, in 1445, you're looking at doing hard mode Volton and normal Vicus. Because hard mode Vicus doesn't unlock until 1460. But at 1445, you also unlock the ability to start getting your relic set. And because you're doing hard mode Volton, you'll be getting 12 bones, 12 demonic bones a week from hard mode Volton. Now, obviously, I'm suggesting staying at a minimum item level to start with here. But this is because the item level difference between hard mode Bolton and hard mode Vicus is not too big, and the power gain that you will get from doing other things like gems and engravings will be big enough that you will be able to do hard mode Bolton without an issue on item level, and you really won't have too much of a problem finding it. Obviously, you will get denied from some groups that are looking specifically for higher item level people, but you should be able to find a pretty decent number of groups that are around item level. Going a couple hones past the minimum item level is just not a bad idea. Just to make the item number and make yourself look a little bit more. But I'm not suggesting going all the way to 1460 yet. If you are going to get ready and you're like, okay, I want to hone, I'm going to start going up to 1460 so that I can do hard mode Vicus. Now, hard mode Vicus, like I said earlier, it doesn't have huge DPS requirements. It requires 1460 item level to get in. But this is where the gatekeeping really starts to hit. This is the player stigma, and this is where the raid kind of matters a little bit more. And it's because the leniency on hard mode Vicus is gone. Normal Vicus, you can get away with using time stops. You can get away with people messing up mechanics. In hard mode Vicus, you can't get away with people making mistakes. You can't get away with people dying. You need everyone to be able to do their job. And it's understandable that if you're going to go play with a bunch of random players and find party, that it's just a better idea to make the fight as short as possible so that you have less room for any one person to be able to make a mistake. So, 1460 item level. It's kind of a bad idea. It's kind of a bad idea to go to 1460. If you're going to go to 1460, I strongly recommend going one hone below Clown. Bring it up to 1470 or 1472.5. It's not only going to give you a bit more defense when you're doing hard mode Vicus to ensure that you live longer, and you won't have such a hard time even when you do hard mode Vicus. You're not going to lose Argus gold, because at 1475, you will no longer obtain gold from Argus. Instead, you will have to get it from Clown. So if you go up to 1475, then you're incentivized to do Clown, otherwise you're going to be losing gold that you otherwise would have been able to get. So go to 1472.5 and just start saving. Build your character up so that you can get 5x3. Once you get to 1472.5, build your character, get level 7 gems, go for 5x3, and then push for Clown. Why wouldn't I suggest going all the way to 1460? Because it's kind of better to save and get yourself into a position where you can go a little bit beyond 1460. The amount of mats and gold that you're going to spend is going to be quite a bit more going past 1460 than it is getting to 1460. So you'll probably want to stop around, you know, just you can go a little bit past hard mode vault and get to like 1450, but then start saving some mats so that you can hone past 1460. Or go ahead and push to 1460, but be okay with not doing hard mode Vicus on, you know, that week or something. Just get yourself into a different mindset where the minimum item level requirement in the game doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get to do the hardest content yet. So push yourself a little bit past 1460, get to like 1470 or 1472.5. 1472.5 is going to be one hone away from Clown. And the reason why I suggest staying there, this is honestly a highly recommended spot by me to keep your alts at, because again, I have alts that I've pushed past this point, and I regret it. I regret it. I wish I had kept them at 1472.5. Why though? Because at 1475, you lose gold from Argus. On top of that, let's say you do clear Clown. If you're clearing Clown on a 1475 character that you just got to 1475, then you're probably going to be buying the chest at the end of each gate for the Mayhem Horns to upgrade your relic set, which is a good power gain. However, it does mean that you're going to be missing out on a couple thousand gold per week on that character that you might be used to having. So you might not want that immediately anyways, because you might want to just save a little bit more gold. You might want to work on higher engravings and things like that. There's a lot of things that you can do at 1472.5 though to get your character into a really good spot so that when you do push past 1475, you're not going to have an issue getting into a Clown group. And like I said, I have some regrettable characters. I'll start with my scrapper. Let me log on to my scrapper. I'll show you guys my scrapper. So here's my scrapper. My scrapper is the best example I have for why you don't want to push a character to 1475. Because my scrapper, I didn't spend the time at 1472 to save gold and get Argus gold. I actually memed and I got a free hone by accident that pushed my character to 1475. I'm 4x3. I'm 4x3 on this guy. I only have level 5 gems. I have one level 7 gem, which is just, I'm honestly just saving this for my Deathblade. I do have LOS 18, but it's not as big. My tripods, I do have mostly level 5 tripods. I do have pretty much all level 5 tripods on this side because of when the tripod change happens. I saved most of them. So this guy has pretty good tripods, but I'm only 4x3. And I only have level 5 gems. And this character is substantially weaker than, you know, my other characters that went into Clown that were 5x3 when they went into Clown and had level 7 gems. So I know that this character was a mistake to get to 1475, but for a lot of people, getting to 1475 is, like I said, a lot easier to do than working on something like getting a 5th engraving or getting all level 7 gems, which is why it's appealing to do and why it's appealing to go and hone. And obviously, honing is, you know, it's fun and frustrating, right? That's gambling, right? So it's addicting. So you might be inclined to, you know, go spend whatever gold you have on honing or on mats so that you can keep honing. So I know there can be frustration with gatekeeping. I have characters where I like my scrapper, for example. I don't get to do Clown on my scrapper, even though I'm 1475. I just don't get to do Argus gold on my scrapper, and I have to keep it a gold earner, so I don't really get to do it. I have done it, but it's not a regular thing that I really get to do, or if I do, then it's really only going to be gate 1 or 2. Not really expecting full clear clown on my scrapper who's minimum item level 4x3. And I don't really think that anyone else should either. I think that the big thing is that there's a breakpoint in between hard mode Vicus and clown where you should focus on getting your character better engravings, the right stats, better gems, you know, and then kind of hone your character past that point. And that's really the whole point of it. And you know, this comes from my experience. Again, I run a lot of my own groups, so I know what I generally look for when I'm looking for making a group. And I also run a Discord where we do lots of coaching runs and getting an influx of newer players or returning players back into the game and constantly kind of like helping them out along the way. And so I've seen a lot of people where they've come in at different points or they've returned to the game at different points and they've been wondering like, where do I take my character? And it's really like, you know, don't solely focus on item level. There's other power gains. You can focus on item level up to a certain point, but after that certain point, focus on other ways to make your character stronger, like engravings and gems and tripods to make your character more appealing to get into groups. You know, that's the whole point of it. And like, yeah, it kind of sucks, like, oh, I don't want to have to hone my character past 1460 to do hard mode Vicus, but the reality is that it doesn't hurt you really that much, you know? It costs some mats, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world if you're going to be able to actually go and do the raids. And if it's frustrating at a certain item level for you to be there, then, you know, there's ways to kind of go a little bit beyond that and then ensure that that frustration is kind of like gone. So that's really the whole point. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys you know, disagree in any way, shape, or form, let me know, dude. For sure, I'll take it. Let's start a discussion. I think it's an interesting topic because I think that there's very valid points on both sides with gatekeeping and why it exists and, you know, where to put your alts at. So let's talk about it in like in a civil way. But for now, this is Dorok signing out. You can come watch me live on Twitch every single day. I stream on Twitch. You can come join the Discord. If you ever need to run a run, just hit me up. Let me know. For now, peace.